When the Tesla Model 3 first was announced as not having an instrument cluster and only having a center display, there was a lot of people that lost their minds over that. But in the end, years later, now the Model Y has it as well, and it's okay, it works fine. Now, that being said, there are aftermarket products out there for a center display. Today's video was sponsored by Hansshow, and they sent me their intelligent instrument screen that it mounts right here, right behind the steering wheel, and shows some information. And so I'm going to get this unboxed and installed today and do a review of how well it works for us here in our Tesla Model Y. Even though Hansshow did send me this product to review and they sent it to me for free, they did not dictate that I say anything about the product. They just said, hey, install this in your Model Y and make a video about how well it works for you. And so that's what I'm doing today. So this is how it comes packaged. It has a foam topper here, some instructions on the installation, and it looks like a warranty card. And then there's this additional bag right here that has a bunch more wiring, so we'll get into that. And then this right here is the main event. So first impressions with it here in my hand is it's got some good heft to it. It feels pretty solid. And then right here, most importantly, a big selling element of this is that it comes with this vent right here. So basically what it does is it plugs into the back into the HVAC slot. So right here on the Model Y and on the Model 3, it has that slot. And so right here, this plugs into that and then passes the air that would normally get blocked by a display, and it passes it straight through this channel right here and then out the front. So this is an instrument display that does not block the airflow. And this is a 9-inch display. You can see it's 1920 by 720 resolution. And so I'm going to work on getting this installed and show you how the process goes. This bag here with the smaller wires in it, this is a long wire that is meant to go out to the front of the vehicle, and then that's for this right here, which is a camera. And so this is a camera that will display the video right here on the front instrument cluster. And then it's helpful, of course, to be able to see right at the front of the vehicle so that you don't hit curves, or when you're pulling into your garage, you can tell exactly how far forward to pull. In the other bag, it comes with this whole big cluster of wires, which I haven't yet figured out all of the details of where all that works, but obviously this is going to be plugging into the wiring harness to power the display and communicate with the vehicle. And then this bag also comes with a variety of other things. So it comes with this orange pry tool, which of course is going to be helpful for pulling away the plastic to get behind it. This is an alignment sticker that shows you put this on the dash and it shows you where to place the display and get it centered. And then it comes with a variety of other miscellaneous things I'm going to pull out. It has a bag of screws here, and then it looks like a Y splitter, and then a USB drive. Now, something I was unsure of is if there would be additional installation instructions here in the box, and I'm finding that there isn't really. The little bit of instructions that they had is pretty minimal, and it's pretty much just about the alignment and using that sticker on the dash. That being said, I actually already watched a couple of YouTube videos, including one from Hansshow, on how to install this display, so I'm going to go ahead and just work on doing what they said in that video. And I will link in the video description below the link to the website for this display at Hanssshow's website, as well as the installation instructions video that they published. Here on the side of the display are 2 micro SD card slots, and then on the top is a reset button and a USB-C port. I thought maybe the instructions were on this USB drive that it came with, so I plugged it into my laptop, but no, it's empty, and it's just a 4 GB drive. First off, right here on the side of the dash, you can see that there's this plastic panel here on the end. So just put in the pry tool here at the bottom and then pull out. That should pop it. And now I've finished popping out the clips. You can see there's 2 here at the top and then another one down here at the bottom. The bottom one is definitely the easiest to pop out. The next thing you do is pop out this whole dash. And there's some clips here, and I'm going to work on pulling this out. It's hard to do it with one hand, so I'm just going to do it, and then I'll show you what the end result looks like. The dash was surprisingly easy to pull up, and if you open up the glove box, then it gives you a better handle on being able to pull it right here. And I'm also finding that over here on this side, that piece, if you just pop out the bottom piece, then actually the upper 2 are connected to the dash, so you don't necessarily have to disconnect the whole thing. And then this is what we're looking at underneath, and we're going to take off this whole dash just like this. I'm going to gently pull it off to the side, and then I'll be able to work up here with getting the screen installed, and the wires run down this way, and then we're going to be coming down in this direction as well. I have pulled the trim out of the way here on the passenger side, and then there's this little plastic piece here, and that has a clip that pops out here at the top, and then after that's popped out, then you lift it up, and there's a slot down here that rests in, so that's just definitely a lifting thing and not a pulling out. And then there is a little pin right here that I used the pry tool that they supplied to pop that out, and so now this can be pulled out, and there's some clips here holding it into place. So I'm getting all this disassembled so that I can run the wires from the display down here and into this area, and this is where the wiring harnesses are that I'm going to be connecting it into. I have finished pulling this carpet piece back, as well as getting the trim pieces done. There was also a clamp here on this piece of carpet went into this hole. And then in the instruction video, it shows that the AMD processor Teslas, which I have, need to go into this port right here, which, as you can see, is this one right here. So I'm going to get the right cabling, pull this out, and then put in the correct one. I have run the wires over there that go to the instrument cluster, and they're just loosely run over here for now and down the wall. I just wanted to point out that I have now plugged it in right here, and the plug that the Tesla had plugged in was this one right here with the purple wires. And so because it comes with this one here, and then it's connected to this one, this is basically just a way to insert itself in series into this line. So you plug the Tesla into this receiver right here, and then this is just going to get tucked around here in the back. And this right here is just a fuse, so don't worry about that. And then there's this other one that I've already plugged in right there, and the other side of it is actually just tucked around up here, so I just kind of pushed it back like that. It didn't have anything already plugged into it, so this one I'm just going to leave empty as well. And then down here, farther down the wiring harness, I haven't seen any mention of this in the instructions or the video, so I'm just going to not do anything with it for now, and we'll see if anything comes up about that. So that's where that is right now. And then over this way, I'm working on getting the screen placed on this dash piece. So it has the alignment sticker, so I stuck that sticker on right here, and it goes along over till right there. And then right here, these three holes, dots indicate where the wires need to pass down through those holes in the ventilation system right there. I have finished passing the wires through those holes. It was fairly tight, but with a little bit of persistence and twisting the ends of these to get past the sharp plastic edges of these holes. And then also these little tags, these identification tags, I wrapped these around so that they would pass through and not get ripped off. So those three are coming through right there. And you can see right there is a screw hole. There's 4 of them that go across here that will hold the screen into place. And then back here on the top, you can see the alignment sticker indicating the edge of the screen goes, and that will be able to be ripped off later because it's perforated. And so it's a dotted line, and it comes around over here, and then the sticker passes up this way so that it follows the contours here, so you can see clearly where it needs to go and then how this gets aligned up. I have finished installing this base plate that came in the box. I didn't show it until now, and you can see it came with screws here to go through and into the bottom of the screen that I talked about. And then these are the wires, the communication and power wires that came through those slots, and you put it through that plate. It actually had 2 extra screws, and I'm not sure if these are going to come into play elsewhere, but if you drop any, looks like maybe it has 2 extras. And it's a pretty small screw, so you'll need a small screwdriver for that. And then if we flip this around, now that it's mounted on there, it just stays right on. You can see that's centered perfectly there where the steering wheel notch is. And then I have my carbon fiber cover on here that I installed in a past video. And so I had to put in on at this point. So make sure if you have a dash cover that you put it on here, because obviously this screen clamps down onto this. So once you've tightened those screws, this cover's here to stay until you remove this screen again if you wanted to take it off. I'm now connecting the wires, and so you can see that there's a label here, and then there's another 2 over here. So they're clearly marked where they plug into each other. And then additionally, you can see right here, there's an arrow, and then over here there's an arrow. So you have to twist these around until those arrows align, and then the pins inside will align. You can see this is the camera one, so I haven't run the camera line yet. But on the end of it, there are 4 tiny holes. So those are where the wires go. So that's why you have to rotate these to make sure that the wires align appropriately. And something I just noticed, as soon as I plugged those in, the screen came on because it's now getting powered, which I didn't quite anticipate yet, but I guess now it is. So this is my first view of the interface. And so there is some information here on the screen, which I'll get back to at the end of this video when I have a chance to get to know the interface, and I'll show you what I find. The first thing to do to install the front camera is this plate up here needs to come up, and I've already pulled up the clips. They were very simple to pull up, and you can see here all those white clips all the way across. There's quite a few of them, and you don't have to tug very hard, but just pull straight up and they all pop out. The next thing to do is remove the 2 10mm sockets from up here in the front area, and then there are 2 more down in here. And then right here, there is a little bit of a clamp that's really easy to pop out. And then there are some wires right here in the front that are for the release button right here. So you got to unplug that, and then you can take the frunk out the rest of the way. This is what the frunk area underneath the tub liner looks like. Right here, this is the power cord for that release button that I unplugged. So what our point of interest is over here now, underneath this area. If you look right in there, you can see that there are some rubber things. I don't know what to call them, but in the instructions, they'd snip off the tip of those and pass the wire in through there. That is already where a bunch of wires are going into the body of the car. Up in here is where it would come through. I just finished fishing through the cord for the camera. Something I realized is I could, see this can't be passed through, so I had to push it down this way, and then I was going to pull something back through so that I could pull the yellow side back through. But I realized that the camera, which it has this purple connection at the other end, it can be unplugged, and the connection sizes are the same size. So I just went ahead and pulled through the purple end, which you can't see because it's behind this tape, but I've just finished pulling it through the firewall right there. Now, one thing I wanted to notice I found out when I was pulling is that this thing actually just kind of easily pops in there. And so you could actually pull this thing all off, and it would really help to fish through there, and you could still use the same hole, but being able to get to the other side right here is helpful, because then you could push the connector through, which was kind of tricky. But anyway, I got it through this spot. I'm gonna pull all of this through. So there I have the cable, and I can just pull all the way through as much as I need. This is the wire coming down for the camera. I haven't affixed it yet. I'm gonna use zip ties and make sure it's up out of the way. But I just wanted to point out something I found. So this is the connector. I've reconnected it here. And then down in this area, it kind of just goes off into darkness. And in the instruction video, it just shows them fishing around in here. I don't know how well you can see it, but you can see the cord going over my finger. It goes around this corner, and right here, this thing that I'm moving, that is a rubber flange. And if I stick my finger down, that's right where the wire's going. And it actually comes around to this other side. Right here is where it's coming out. So I was able to just tuck it down through that rubber flange and pull it out this way. And so it's not terribly obvious from the instruction video, is just what I'm trying to say, but that there is a way that you can bring the cable down through here and not drill any holes or anything. So then right here is the front camera. So what I've done is I've put the sticky pad on it right here. This red surface I'm going to peel off when I'm ready. This is double-sided sticky tape. And then that is going to go right here. Now you can see that it has this little notch in the back here, and that notch goes right here on this fin. You can see that there are 5 vertical fins across here, so this is the middle one. And then it has 2 holes here for screws. It wouldn't be noticeable if the screws were screwed in there and then eventually this was removed for whatever reason. It's down here on this surface, so not a big deal, but you can see that the camera would just sit right there. And then also it has this hinge on the side, and I've tightened the screws now, but I might have to adjust it later. But that allows you to tilt the camera up or down. Once you've gotten it mounted here and look at the video feed, it can be adjusted, at least vertically. I have now finished installing the camera. That cable I still am going to be pulling up straight, so don't worry about that going to the side. But this is what the end result looks like. I put in the screws on either side. You can see there and there. And I'm not sure how required the screws are, but the double-sided sticky tape might not be enough, and so I figured I might as well use the screws since they supplied them, and it just makes it that much more secure. And then I might still need to angle it down or up or whatever, but that's what my first shot at the installation is. So now I'm going to continue routing the cables and putting everything back together. I've finished putting everything back together. Probably the hardest part was this dash and getting it lined and clipped back down. And I actually used pieces of tape to route the wires where they wouldn't get pinched. And so here we have it. So this is the view that I have now. My previous steering wheel position was a little bit lower, and now that this is here, that I have to think now what I can see through the steering wheel, whereas before there was nothing to see here. And then obviously the screen's over there. So I'm going to experiment with this a little bit and figure out what I think of it and how well it works for my purposes. I want to show just a little bit here of the setup. So you can see that it is a touch screen. I can go up here into the setup area and I can specify various settings in here. And then here it has the various functions, and I'm still getting used to it. But as an example here, I can push the mirror button and now it's folding the mirrors. And so this will directly control the car because it's plugged into the wiring harness of the car. And then I can see some information here, like my odometer as an example, or the ambient temperature. Over here it's showing 101%, so why is that over 100%? I don't know. And then the battery icon shows it as empty. And then over here, range 259. So before I say some falsehoods, I'm going to go ahead and study up on how this works, and then I'll let you know what I think. So remember how I showed you before that the battery percentage icon over here was 101% and the battery just showed empty? Well, I went into the settings, which you can do in a couple of different ways. I'm pressing to the left on the right scroll wheel, and then it came up with this. And over here it says OTA upgrade. So I can tap on that. And then there's 3 here, and I experimented with them, and I found that CAN OTA is what works best. So if you tap on that, it says turn off Bluetooth and Wi-Fi on your phone, change the hotspot or the Wi-Fi tethering to have the SSID as set to car, and then password 123456778. So I went ahead and did that, and it took a while, but eventually this download button appears. So like it's grayed out for a while, and if you leave it here and then you tap it, eventually it starts working. At least that's what I found. And then when I did that, now this shows correct. So apparently it needed a software update, but I neglected to notice what the numbers were on this screen prior, so I don't really know what happened there, like what version I went to. I'm noticing here it looks like that's the operating system from 2022, January 7th, if I'm reading that correctly, or maybe that's July 1st, I don't know. In any case, that is the method that I found to update the software. So coming back here to the main screen, now that that's looking correct, everything else on here actually looks fine. And you can see it shows range over here, and I rather like that. I like that it shows range there, and then over here on the normal screen, it shows battery percentage over here. So I can see both at the same time on the different screens. As far as the UI displays are concerned, I've gone through all 3 of them. And this right here, this animation on the right side, in my opinion, is kind of pointless. I don't need to know that I'm driving down the road. And if you turn your steering wheel to the right or left, it does curve with the steering wheel. But once again, I don't need to see that on the display. Over here on the left side, it then shows your tire pressure monitoring, which right now is zeroed out because I haven't driven for a bit. But also, I don't need to constantly be aware of my tire pressure, so I feel like that's rather pointless. And then you have this dial in the middle that has your speed, and then here it will show you how much power, or it shows your speed as well as a dial, and then right here there's a bar that shows how much power versus regen you're using. Right here it shows their drive indicator or reverse or neutral, and then you have the normal icons across the top here of various sorts, and then the odometer over here. So if I press on to the left on the right scroll wheel button right here, it then brings up the settings again. So I'm going to change the theme to number 2 and then hit return. And so this is the second theme. Once again, I don't care about that, but if I use the right scroll wheel here, then I can scroll through a couple of different options there in that spot, but none of these options are terribly helpful. Like, I don't want to have just setup sitting there all the time. Android Auto is fine, but if you tap on that, it takes you into the full Android Auto app and it replaces the instrument cluster, which is not what I want. And then CarPlay, I don't use that either. And a T-Box, it's got all these icons on the screen, and then this over here. I want an instrument cluster. I don't need entertainment for while I'm driving. So I don't feel like that is terribly helpful, or at least not what I'm looking for. So I'm going to exit back out of this. And then the rest of the UI is much the same with the varied indicators around it. So let's go into the third UI theme. And here you can see now it shows horsepower on this side, which really is just showing the kilowatts being used. It still has the charge regen down here and your drive indicator, and then the speed on the left. It shows it as a digital number in the middle plus the dial. And then here in the center, we once again have the same icons, which those show up on all 3 displays, and I don't care about any of them, and they just feel like a waste of space. So I'm not terribly happy about that, but this display, this UI, this number 3, does fill the display with the most useful information, I think, but I'm going to keep experimenting with these and see what I think after using it and driving it around for a bit. Now, one thing I did figure out is that if you want to use this front camera regularly, then you want to toggle that to on. And then the way that that behaves is the first time that you put the car in drive, it will bring up the camera. The front camera is clearly helpful for if you're approaching a curb, like you're parking the car, you can see exactly how close it's getting, and then you know exactly where to stop. And then also when you first put the car into drive, it will pop up unless you change it in the settings. And then to turn the camera off, you can just wait, and when you get up over 20 miles an hour, it will automatically turn off. I don't necessarily love that. I feel like that's too long. It probably should be more like a quick button I can press and it turns off. So that's okay, but I don't feel like I'm going to be using the front camera enough to want to do that. So that's why I have left that off for now. Now this display, this pops down the moment that you put the car into park. And there's a couple of things along here. These bring up like Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, volume control, I think that's T-Box setup here. And then here, this is interesting. This is a remote latch for the passenger side door, front door. This is the rear left door or driver's side, and this is the right rear door. So if you wanted to pop those open for some reason, you could do that from here. This right here slides your passenger seat. So this seat right here, it slides it forward, and that could be helpful if somebody's getting in the back. You can pop the door open for them, and then you could actually slide the seat forward, and you can also slide it back. And then I believe this is for heating up the main battery of the vehicle. If you're going to be heading to a supercharger, you can tap that, and that starts it heating up. And then you have the Bluetooth icon here. Now, at first I thought, well, why wouldn't I just leave that on all the time? But what I found is that when this is on, the moment you get into the car, it connects to Android Auto automatically, and I don't want that on all the time. And so by tapping that and turning it off, it means it does not connect to Android Auto the moment you get in. Like, my main goal for this is to be able to just replace an instrument cluster. So putting the car into drive, pops it up, and then that's just what I want. Be able to see pertinent information, the speed, all these things. So this is a solution I could see working. I've got my trip graph over here with all that information, and of course what's over here on the left side of the display. And then over here, it's got the navigation display up, showing that information. And then if I need to show the estimated arrival percentage, I just swipe down on that briefly. I can see that information right there, just check on it, and then I could go right back to the trip graph. Like I said before, I still think I just prefer this as being the instrument cluster and having just constant place for it to be displaying that information. And here's another thing that I don't like about this. You can see how on the right side it's showing media unavailable. Well, it's trying to show some kind of media. Well, I don't need to be looking at media while I'm driving. I don't want that. It could be music, sure, I get that, but some people will use it for that. I don't intend to. And so I'm just going to come down here, close Android Auto, and now we have the instrument display, instrument cluster, and it just constantly shows the information I want to see. Another thing I've noticed is it keeps showing the wrong hour. I have repeatedly checked the settings. Here, I'll come in here to the settings. So it pops this up, I go to settings, and you can see it says UTC -6, which is where we are here in Utah. That's what it needs to be. That doesn't ever change, but the displayed time does change constantly. You can see it's 12:58, but just a little bit ago it was correct. So I don't know what's up with that. That's regularly wrong. And then, like I've said, this thing in the middle, I really don't care about that. And then at other times it'll show this car, which is equally as pointless. And really, ultimately, what I want is to be able to specify what is in each of these three spots, whether it's the speed or something, I don't know. This is not a helpful animation. To me, it smacks of the exact same thing that I'm seeing right here. So it's just being repeated. And I've already said before, I really don't care about this animation. If I was using full self-driving, then I would care more about what the car can see, of course. Gives me some confirmation that it's not going to go hit something because I can see that it knows it's there. But I don't need to see it repeated over here. And this doesn't even show all of the extraneous things. This shows like vehicles and cars and stuff. This just shows the basic animation that is the car and that it's traveling these lines going past. So overall, I am happy with this display because there was nothing there before, and now I can have more options of things to see over here versus over here. But it doesn't have as much integration as I would like. And then regarding the air conditioning coming through the bottom of the display, I can definitely feel that air coming through. And when you turn up your air full blast, you can definitely tell that it's getting past. And it would be, a bummer to lose that airflow that's coming straight through the steering wheel. That was one of the nice features of the Tesla, the strip, this airflow strip that goes all the way across the car, and it's nice to preserve that. Overall, would I recommend one of these displays? I think it's useful functionality, and I think that there is some room for improvement with their software. I was reading online as well from what others were saying, and there was some agreement there from others that there's little finagly things about their software that they're not really updating very well. I think that they could do better there. Overall, though, I do like just having an instrument cluster there and not having to look over here, and this is an easy way to do that. How easy was the installation? Well, this was definitely a lot of popping off of panels, and if you have that pry tool, which they send it with, and you have some confidence to be able to, you know, pop in the right places, then it's not a big deal. There was nothing major, no fabrication or anything necessary, and it locks on and it's quite solid on the dash. That being said, it was a fair amount of work to get the front camera installed. Mostly coming through the firewall and getting through there was tricky and difficult. But I'm happy with the end result. All of these observations are just my first impressions, having just installed this today and driving it around and testing it out. If I have any additional insights to share, I will put them in a pinned comment below so that I can, you know, keep you updated on this video rather than releasing another video. We will also be, of course, going on additional road trips in the future, and I will share my observations during those road trip videos of how well this heads-up display or center display are working for us. I'm happy with it just as an instrument cluster and potentially occasionally a front view camera for situations where it will be helpful. If you're interested in picking up one of these for yourself, I will give you a discount code of ETA that I'll put in the link in the description below, and that will give you 20% off anything in the store. And with that, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Dance, James. Oh, he loves this robot. Are you excited, James?